The general had barely lifted an eyebrow when she approached, breath steady, uniform perfect, expression unreadable. He took one look at her paperwork, saw the note requesting limited physical training, and let out a laugh that echoed across the parade ground. Dozens of young soldiers turned to look. He had no idea what she was hiding beneath the jacket she kept zipped up to her throat. Her name was Sergeant Claire Matthews, 27 years old, recently transferred from an overseas deployment. To most, she appeared reserved, almost quiet, the kind of soldier who blended into formations and never spoke unless called upon. But those who served in her former unit knew her as something different. A woman who had seen more pain than her age should have allowed. A soldier who had bled out on sand blended with gunpowder. A leader who earned respect one battle at a time. But here, at this new base, she was just another face in line. The morning air was cold, sharp. Soldiers stood in formation awaiting the weekly timed PT run. Everyone was required to pass. There were no exceptions. General Bradford, a man known for his unwavering tone and old-school style of leadership, walked down the ranks with a clipboard, reading off names and commenting on nearly every face he saw. When he reached Claire's line, he stopped. "Matthews, I see here you submitted a written excuse from the infirmary. Temporary medical limitation?" He didn't hide the skepticism in his voice. Claire stood straight. "Yes, sir." Bradford exhaled through his nose. "And why exactly? Am I being told you can't complete a simple 2-mile run like everyone else?" The formation shifted with discomfort, eyes drifting toward her. No one spoke. No one moved. She held her silence, shoulders tight, gaze forward. Bradford smirked. He wasn't being cruel for the sake of cruelty. He believed in pushing soldiers past excuses. But he also didn't know who he was talking to. "Let me guess," he said. "Sore feet? Pulled muscle? A cold? Or one of those vague injuries people write on forms when they're not ready to meet the standard?" Several soldiers swallowed hard. Tension grew. Claire inhaled slowly. She could have walked away. She didn't have to explain a thing. Her file spoke clearly enough. But she had never been the kind to defend herself with paperwork. She defended herself with truth. She was still new to this unit. Most of the soldiers hadn't trained with her. They hadn't seen her under fire. They hadn't watched her carry 2 wounded teammates across rubble while bleeding out herself. All they saw was a woman asking to sit out of a run. Rumors had already begun circulating in the barracks. Rumors that she was weak, that she was soft, that she was handed rank through sympathy instead of combat. So when the general raised his voice, half the formation agreed with him. "Matthews," he said, pen tapping the clipboard. "If you're in uniform, you're capable. If you're capable, you run. That's how this works." Claire felt a weight settle in her chest. She wasn't angry. She had heard far worse. She had been called far worse by enemies who tried to kill her before they learned her strength. But she didn't want special treatment. She only wanted time. Time for fresh surgical stitches to knit across a wound earned 6 weeks earlier in a village no one would ever read about in newspapers. She exhaled slowly. "Sir," she said, "may I speak freely?" Bradford opened his hand in permission. "Sir, I am not refusing the run. I am following medical guidance to not reopen a combat injury." Bradford folded his arms. "Show me." His words, sharp and simple, cut through the formation. A whisper moved across the ranks. No one expected that. Some soldiers strained with concealed excitement, waiting to see if she would back down. Claire stood there for 3 long seconds. Then she nodded. Slowly, she unzipped her jacket. The morning light caught the fabric as she pulled it open and shrugged the coat off her shoulders. Gasps broke the silence. Bradford's stare changed immediately. Across her side and rib cage, still taped with medical dressings, was the mark of a bullet exit wound that had torn through her torso. Faint bruising still remained. The scar was fresh, angry, real. Whispers broke the air. Was that from deployment? She's still recovering. How is she even standing here? But Claire wasn't done. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a ribbon medal encased in plastic. A commendation award. Recently issued. She held it in her palm without pride, without dramatics. 4 of my soldiers made it home because I didn't let myself die until after I got them on the helicopter, she said softly. I am not requesting to avoid the run. I am requesting to heal properly so I can keep serving with the same strength that got them home. No one moved. Even the wind seemed to still. General Bradford looked at her for a long time. Those who served under him knew the face he wore, the one that meant he was replaying everything that had just unfolded. His posture softened, just a fraction. He had seen battlefield wounds. He had lost soldiers under his leadership. He had been visited by family members who asked why their sons and daughters didn't come home. He understood the cost of war. The soldiers watched him in silence, waiting for the verdict. Some of them now looked at Claire with shame, others with awe. Bradford exhaled. Sergeant Matthews, he said, voice lower now, heavy with respect. Why didn't your file state the injury details? It wasn't necessary, sir, she answered. I didn't want special recognition. I only needed time. Bradford nodded slowly. Most soldiers who earn a wound like that are in a hospital bed for months. You're standing at formation before sunrise. Before they were Medivase, she said. I made a promise that when they woke up stateside, my feet would be standing on the same ground. I keep my promises, sir. A ripple of emotion passed through the soldiers. Some swallowed down guilt that they had judged her. Others turned their eyes to the ground, realizing how little they understood of the wars fought inside the hearts of the quiet. Bradford cleared his throat, turning to the formation. Every soldier here, he said, remember this moment. Strength does not always shout. Sometimes it walks in the formation quietly, wounded and still standing. No one dared speak. Then he turned back to Claire. Sergeant Matthews, you are medically excused from this run. And when you are fully cleared, I expect you to return and destroy the course. Her expression softened. Yes, sir. Dismiss. And Matthews? She paused. I'll be visiting your former unit CO. I want to read every deployment report personally. She nodded and stepped back into formation. But the formation did not look at her the same way anymore. Respect had replaced doubt. Over the next weeks, Claire attended physical therapy before most soldiers even woke. She walked miles with quiet discipline, rebuilt her speed, forced her lungs to stretch against the ache in her ribs. She never complained. She never saw pity. She was a soldier who had learned that strength wasn't measured in miles. Run or medals earned. It was measured in promises kept. When she returned to full PT, the general didn't supervise from a clipboard. You ran the course alongside her. When she crossed the finish line, her score wasn't just passing. It shattered the post-fastest recovery time from a recorded battlefield injury. Soldiers from multiple companies clapped from the sidelines, not because she finished, but because she had never stopped. The whispers about her changed, not through speeches or stories, but through action. Young soldiers began approaching her for advice. Others asked her to train with them. Her journey had become something more than recovery. It had become an example of what it truly meant to serve, to rise, to heal without quitting, to lead without needing to be seen. What did this story make you feel? Where are you watching from? Subscribe to Soul Relief Stories for more real stories that heal the heart.